Thanks for dropping by. Kitchen time and some different paraphernalia. Basically, I've got my big stuff and my scissors in soaking alcohol at the moment. I'll get them out in a minute so they can dry off. Pliers, wire cutters, and a couple of knives. I may need different sorts, but that's my initial stab at it. And the job for today is something I don't want to do, but I feel I have to if these plants are going to carry on. These four have suffered badly from the bleach treatment. They don't seem to be recovering very well, if at all, and like I've always said, if you carry on doing the same thing over and over again, you are liable to get the same results, and the results at the moment are no growth, yeah, apart from a couple of cases. So these have also, I've looked up my records, been around a long time. And if they've been around a long time, they've been in these pots a long time. Now, although this is Orchiata bark, that doesn't mean it hasn't gone off. So we could have a combination of things here. And if the bark was starting to go, I doubt if the bleach did it any good. Also, if the bark was starting to go, it would be far, far more absorbent than new bark, which hardly holds any water at all. So that would have held the bleach, wouldn't it? And even though these were thoroughly rinsed, there could have been residual bleach left in the pots and the bark. And some just suffered more from it, you know. So, and it does seem to be the ones that have been around the longest that have suffered the worst. So they're coming out of their pots. I'm not looking forward to it because it's a job that's going to end up damaging roots. There's no getting away from it. Roots will be lost. Now I'm going to start with a little one and work up. Now this is the one I literally noticed this morning, so that would be yesterday morning when you're watching this, when I was watering. These four were left out, they didn't get watered, so I want them dry to work on them. But this one has the lovely red blooms on. It's the one with a very long name. Siang Yu Red Pearl Red Dragonfly. It's a red one. And it has many deep red blooms. Very, very attractive cluster of red Cattleya blooms, and I love it. It's never been that happy a plant. This came from one of the German nurseries, don't ask me which one, I've forgotten. And it was hand-picked. One of my YouTube viewers, don't ask me which one, I've forgotten, I don't keep those sort of records, said if you want some orchids from this nursery, I'm paying them a visit. If you have a look through their website and choose some plants, I'll pick them up while I'm there, and then you can pay me and add the postage on and I'll send them to you, which was absolutely great. And this one was chosen for the colour of its blooms. It arrived without very good roots, and it's been like that ever since. It's never been a good root grower, this one. So first job, get the wire off, because it ain't coming out of the pot with the wire still on there, is it? It's just going to be easier to cut it and then try and work out where it goes. In theory that little bit's, yeah, that little hook's just going to come off. So that bit now needs to unthread through the hole. Find the other side, which is here. Do the same thing again. I think there's only one wire here. I can only see one. Whoops. Ping. And again, just straighten that so that it'll pull back through the hole. Now we should be able to just hook it out. It says you just don't want to go through that hole, do you? Right, come at it another way then. If you don't want to go in through the hole, you can flipping well come out through it. What it is these little holes at the top of these pots are not big enough. And in this case I've actually used quite large gauge wire. I'll end up cracking the pot, I expect. stay there while I get the other end out. If the other end's going to come out, of course. Well, see, that just came straight out. So the other bit can stay there until such time as, oh, there we go, wiggled out. Right, now, all of these roots here may thread back through, but there is no point. They are dead. Desiccated, dried, shriveled, and all they're going to do is stop me getting this back in through the pot, so they're just coming off. They are a resistance that will help hold the plant in the pot while I'm trying to ease it back out. So they can all come off. They're all desiccated. I mean, it's remotely possible they could shoot out again, but I don't want to rely on it. And these are hard enough to get out of the pot at the best of times. I'm thinking the fact that these roots have died due to that treatment, it is highly likely that they're not hanging on to the pot anymore. Those that were, if you see what I mean. Right, that's that. Now we've got no new roots. If there are any, they'll be just here under this latest growth. So that's the bit I'll take great care with, and we'll work away from it. So down the side of the pot, and just move round and wiggle. And as you go round, you're just freeing it a bit at a time. Be very interested to see what state this bark's in. I don't want to go too vicious with this because it is a clay pot. It's not indestructible. I haven't got any more. I tell a lie, I do have some more clay pots. They haven't got holes in, and I could make some because I do have the drill bits. So I could make some new ones, but I'd rather not at the moment. I've got better things to do. There we go. That's gone out. And as you can see, these roots have just gone. How bad this bark is. Yeah, it's not as bad as it could be. And the fact that it's bark, it's not the bark that's rotted the roots, but as bark gets old and tired, it's going to be slightly acidic because it holds more water. You see what I mean? It is effectively breaking down. Nowhere near as bad as moss, obviously, but it is starting to break down. And the fact that it holds water longer, turns acidic, you're getting a low pH in the pot, which starts affecting the nutrient absorption. So the chances are your plant's not getting as much of the right nutrients as it ought to have. So old tired bark is best replaced. Right, that's most of the old bark out. There's no sign of any new roots as yet, not even around this bit. But I'm going careful around this piece where the latest growth is, just in case there's any new ones just starting. I don't think there are. Now what I've got to do is look at the plant. Now the oldest part of the plant is here, and apart from this pseudobulb, this old part of the plant has still got leaves on. So there are leaves on all of the plant. Now the new growth's going to come here. That's probably the eye there. It'd be nice if two came up. So I'm expecting new growth here on that part of the plant, but I'm going to take that part of the plant off. It will have two leaves on that pseudobulb, a good one on that pseudobulb, and a leafless one. And I suspect it will produce a new eye quite easily. So I'm desperately looking around the base of these pseudobulbs to see if there's any scale. Because if I've done all this and lost most of my roots and still got scale, I'm not going to be happy. But yeah, that's the only sign of a new root that I've got. It's that little bit there, which is not much. So I'm going to cut that. Actually, I'm not. It's going to come apart on its own. Let's make a clean cut, and then we can get our cinnamon on it. Right, so that gives me a young, well, a smaller division of reasonable quality. Now, I've bought Cattleyas this size with worse roots than this, believe it or not, but these are just like paper. They have no life in them at all. So what I'm going to do is cut them. If there is any life in them, it will probably make them branch. It is a branching root system. Not all Cattleyas are. Some of them have a tendency to just grow a long root with a growing tip on it. So that's one piece. So there's still a couple of bits of bark up in there. There we go, that'll do. So that's good. And then what I'm going to do, I was just going to say, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand that in some water for an hour or two to make sure it really soaks in water. In actual fact, I've still got some water left from when I was watering the mounts and the holy clay pots, and that has actually got some feed in it. So that would give it a bit of a boost and hydrate the roots to the best they can. It may do nothing to these roots, it may. It's got to be worth a try, that's the way I look at it. It can do no harm, so we'll give it a soak. So there are some wiry looking roots here. As I say, I don't know why I'm going careful trimming these, they're dead. They have ceased to be. So that's one piece. Now what are we going to do with this? Is this going to produce an eye? I think it will. Where, I don't know, but it could be there. Yeah, we'll get that little stumpy bit off. Well, every time I get near a rhizome, you know what I'm like. Have we got any pretty colours? The answer is no. Oh goody. So we can exclude that from its reasons. Now somebody's going to say, you went from one plant to another without sterilising your scissors. Think it through. Did I? It's the same plant, I just cut it in half. And you can be a little bit OTT with the old sterilisation. And fuss too much. A bit of caution is got to be worth having, but you can go too flipping mad. Now these are going to have to come off because they won't go in the pot. Right, a couple of spindly bits. Now this has got ridged pseudobulbs, not desiccated pseudobulbs. There is enough stored energy in that to push a new growth and some new roots without any help from the old root system at all. So get on with it. Come on. You had 5 minutes. Right, so we'll leave it at that. I'm not washing roots off. As I said, these are going to go into soak for a bit. I might not do it with all of them, but I will with this particular one because it just seems incredibly dry at the roots. In theory it ought to be because it hasn't been watered for ages. Right, tidy. That was, we've got some raw cuts here somewhere, haven't we? Oh, that's a tiny little cut. The piece of the rhizome there was make sure it's cinnamon and not paprika like we did once before. You'll be fed up with hearing that, aren't you? Right, so we put some on there. I don't know why I'm putting that on when I'm going to go and stand it in some water now. But believe it or not, the water won't wash the cinnamon off. I mean, if you think about it, you put cinnamon on things and then water it, don't you? So, right. That's one done. I'll break the camera off while I get that one sorted out and the mess out of the way, then we'll move on to another one. Okay, that's one done. I put the feed water in a saucepan and I added some seaweed to the mix. Allegedly that helps with rooting. I've never proved that one way or the other, but others have sworn by it and say it helps, so I look at it this way, it can do no harm. Right, let's get this wire cut. This is a much thinner wire now. I was going to say that disappears and only has one end. This should pull through a lot easier than the last lot did. That was quite heavy gauge wire, that was. Now this wire has actually been wrapped around the plant, so I'm not quite sure what's going on at the moment, but there's bits of wire all over the plant heading off in all sorts of directions. I think what I did was I actually put one piece of wire over the plant and then used that wire to anchor another piece. So I've got wire heading off in all directions here. But if I just snip everything I can see, then it should come out, shouldn't it? Yeah, that heads off to the edge somewhere. So it's not on the plant anymore. Right, that'll do. Now this plant, I believe is one where we cut the rhizome to get a new lead, and there looks like a slice through there, so it's already going to be two plants, isn't it? Now I do have some new roots here in this area, so that's not luckily on the edge of the pot. However, this section is on the end of the pot, and the few new roots that have grown in that area are actually on the outside. So again, I'll just have to come round being careful. I tend to work better moving away from myself rather than towards myself, so we start there. Now this hasn't got a name, this is it's just an orange hybrid. It's one I've had quite a long time and I do actually like it. It has good flowers. I think that's going to bleed. Luckily it's sterile, so I just stuck the scissors in my finger. Clumsy. Clumsy equals tired under normal circumstances, and that would be true. I'm doing a bit too much lately, and I still don't think I've properly recovered from that presentation at midnight. And it was 2:30 in the morning with the time I got to bed. And that's not really enough sleep, and although I thought I made up for it the next night, I don't think I did actually. Yeah, alcohol tastes horrible, doesn't it? It's on the scissors. Right, where did we get to? About there. Another bit of wire. Coming up to the area where there could be some new roots down there, so see, we've done enough for this one to come out. Well, these, as I said, this was this definitely had the rhizome cut and it did generate a new lead, so there should be two plants in here. Again, they come out a lot easier than I was expecting. Oh goody. Now what we've got to do is try and get the wire out before we start poking around, because otherwise that's going to make another hole in my finger. Oops, don't want wire in there. That's going in the green recycling. We don't want wire in there. I think that's it. Right, now. Yes, you are 2 pieces. So we've got 2 nice pieces with new roots just about showing. God, this is going to be difficult. It's just roots entwined, basically, where it's been in there so long, the roots have just formed a tangled mess. Now, although these roots are desiccated, they're nowhere near as bad as the ones that was on the previous plant. See, now that doesn't smell mouldy, that just smells dry. Just woody. So I'm just trying to go careful around these couple of new roots I've got here. And also there, we definitely don't want to break those, we haven't got many. But I want the plants to separate so that I can work on them properly. You know the easiest way to do that, don't you? Just cut it. Let's just put the secateurs down through the gap there. That's got it. Right, so this piece some of the rot that I got on the Cattleyas, which I said was as a result of the bleach, was where the sheaths were still there, and what happened was they soaked in a lot of bleach and held it, and it didn't dry off. So even though it was rinsed, the bleach was still there, and obviously it would congregate around the base where it's at its thickest, 2 or 3 layers, and it just set off some rot. And I've got a feeling, phew, I was just going to say, and this place where the eye is black as well, but it's okay, it's okay, no worries. Right, now that's a lead there. And so is that. So that piece has got 2 leads. It's got 2 old leafless pseudo bulbs. They're coming off. No point in keeping those. And then we'll hack some roots out of the way. There's no sort of living roots as such in this area. These are all just wispy little papery things. But in amongst them are a few white ones like here, so I'm trying to avoid those. Just get these papery things out of the way, which will then enable me to get in and get those last few bits of bark out. Right, that's that side. There's a pseudo bulb been cut off there at some point, and that had cinnamon put on it. I can tell by the colour of it the way it dries. What are we doing? We won't take too much more off. Oh, I've got to get that centre out. That's just... I always think if you leave the old dead bits in the middle of the plant like that, it's where some of the new roots might actually want to grow, and they're not going to grow as well with a load of old roots in the way. because they're trying to attach to some media and all these roots are in the way, so I think they're better off out of it. Right. Take much more off there. In fact, that'll do on that piece. So we've got a lead here and a lead here, so we have the possibility of 2 new growths on that bit, and we also have buds coming out of this bit, which I forgot to say earlier. Now those buds may still carry on and grow, and again we have some nice plump pseudo bulbs, or a couple, some a bit ridged but not desiccated. What we don't have is a root system to back them up. These are old papery roots that are of no use. So we're hoping to generate some more. So again, that can go and sit in that water, soak in some feed and some seaweed. Whether that does any good or not, I really don't know. So that's one piece tidied up a bit. Now this is a bigger piece, much bigger. And what we've got here is the possibility of shooting out in this area, definitely in this area. So this is our front piece. Now all of the bulbs on here have leaves, so I'd rather not take any of them off. See, I could quite happily take this off. Oh, hang on. Oh, so I thought I saw another cut in the rhizome there, but it's just a mark. I don't think it is a cut. No, because it would separate. What was that? Bird. Kamikaze bird flying into the back door. I didn't hear it shout Geronimo. They fly up against the walls and glass and things like that, catching little spiders and things. They're attempting to hover basically, and they're just not very good at it. So they bash into things. Right, so we've got new growth instigated here but failing. This root here is broken. That one's got a break in it, so they're not doing very well, but they have to be left in case they branch. There's no other new ones anywhere on this one. These papery ones are no good. They were up against the side of the pot. There's no great urgency to make sure every single piece of old bark is removed, because this bark in this pot hasn't gone. This is still firm, solid bark, no smell of breaking down, that Fausty smell. This is still okay, this bark, but it doesn't mean to say it was going to stay like that for any length of time. And just, when the plant's not happy like that, one of the surest ways to refresh a plant is to refresh the media. Now, okay, it's got root disturbance, but what time of year is it? It's coming into growing season, so these eyes should be starting to move soon. See, it's a shame because you can see that new root's broken there. But we'll leave it because the little hair inside hasn't broken, so it's still capable of getting some feed. Now, we didn't cut any rhizomes on this, did we? So there's no cinnamon to do. So why have I got a cut? Oh well, I don't quite know why that one's there. Did I take a bulb off? I don't think I did. Perhaps that got done in the pot a while ago. Perhaps I had a rotten pseudo bulb there that I cut off a while back and I've forgotten all about it. But nonetheless, there is a cut there, so I will put the cinnamon on it. I don't think I did that now. Must have done it earlier. Right, so that's another 2. I'll break off again, get those 2 set up, mess cleared up, and back again. There's 2 more to do. I don't think I'm going to show both of those. I think what I'll do now is carry on with the camera off and come back when it's time to get these in some pots.